Good afternoon. Good afternoon. As I've said, never underestimate the convening power of free food and beer. I know most of you are here for the food, but you've got to listen to the state of the school for the next hour or so. Anyway, good afternoon and welcome. I really do appreciate all of those of you who are here in person today. And I hope that you and many others are going to stay for the party immediately following my talk, which unfortunately, because of the threat of thunderstorms, is no longer going to be held under the $65,000 umbrella on the quadrangle. Don't even want to think about it. But is actually going to be held here immediately outside in the foyer of the Martin Center and in the Elements Cafe. So chalk up the weather around here as just another challenge I've been unable to fix. But I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Anyway, and there's, I imagine, especially given the inclement weather, a number of you who are tuning in via live stream. So I appreciate your taking the time to be part of this event, remotely or in person, and I certainly hope to have a real party at some point. Anyway, in reflecting today on the state of Harvard Medical School, I want to say that we have the great fortune of celebrating a strong, resilient, and a restless institution. Yes, I say restless because this institution is never satisfied with the status quo. Our students, our faculty, staff, postdocs, trainees, alumni, and the many supporters of our mission are constantly striving to do more, to learn and grow and contribute to make a difference. And that is what makes the state of our school so strong. Indeed, Harvard Medical School is, and with your hard work always will be, a leader in biomedical discovery, education, and clinical and community service. HMS attracts and empowers a diverse, inclusive community of individuals who advance our core values. And HMS rouses the compassionate and curious among us to advance our mission of improving health and well-being for all. Now, I've been dean now for 6 years, 8 months, 12 days, 14 hours, 35 seconds, but I continue to marvel at and I take inspiration from all of you, the people of Harvard Medical School. I learn so much from each of you. Each of you challenges me every day to be a more attentive listener and a more engaged steward of this remarkable community. I am proud that Harvard Medical School holds a stellar reputation locally, nationally, and globally. But we can't rest on our laurels. We can't get complacent. Public trust in medicine and science have been deteriorating in the aftermath of the pandemic as a result of disinformation campaigns, vaccine hesitancy, scientific illiteracy, and the emphasis on clinical volume at many of our affiliated hospitals and regional medical centers. It's contributed to the rise of burnout amongst physicians and to frustrated patients. So we have much work to do. But it's you, the people of Harvard Medical School, who continue to lead the way. You don't just make up our institution, you actually embody it. You define its values and you shape its success. So I want to start by telling one of your stories. HMS Assistant Professor of Psychiatry, Caroline Pallavicino-Maggio, runs the Neurobiological Mechanisms of Aggression Laboratory at McLean Hospital. A proud Latina, she grew up in Manhattan's Washington Heights. Her dad was an elevator mechanic and her mom sold food and household goods on the street to make ends meet. When Caroline was 13 years old, her older sister Angie died by suicide. Now, Caroline says Angie was her idol, her best friend, her everything. Now, having 5 siblings myself, one lost to a complication of a supposedly routine medical procedure, I feel immense sadness when I think about Caroline's loss. That tragedy, combined with the violent crime that she witnessed in her neighborhood as a child, drove Caroline to pursue science, specifically neurochemistry and the roots of aggression. And that was her way of understanding what happened to her sister. But Caroline's path to a PhD was not easy. After graduating from college and working a few jobs, she saved money to fly to San Diego to attend a meeting of the Society of Neuroscience. On the plane, completely by chance, she sat next to an associate dean of the New Jersey Medical School at Rutgers, who persuaded her to apply there. And indeed, Caroline ended up attending Rutgers, earning her doctorate, and landing a spot as a research fellow in Ed Kravitz's lab in the Harvard Medical School Department of Neurobiology. Ed recognized her potential, provided her with an environment where she could flourish. But Caroline's journey didn't stop there. The community-based mentorship she received at HMS helped launch her career. With support from an entire village of mentors, like Ed, but Roz Siegel, Rachel Wilson, Mike Greenberg, and others, Caroline was hired at the McLean and is now advancing her landmark research on the neural underpinnings of female aggression. She's also involved in a number of diversity initiatives at McLean, including a collaboration with the Harvard Brain Initiative to better understand historically marginalized people's fears and misconceptions about, for instance, post-mortem brain donation. Caroline's story represents everything that we hope the HMS experience can be. It shows us that no matter who you are or where you come from, when you strive to make a difference through your research, through your teaching, your clinical service, or your crucial administrative support for our mission, you become the embodiment of Harvard Medical School. You portray our values, and you shape our success. Now, one of the most important lessons I've learned in my service as dean is that my most important responsibility is toiling so that each and every one of you in this community has the resources and the opportunity to reach your full potential. Each day, I come to Harvard Medical School striving to promote individual and collective enterprise so that the sum of the HMS community generates maximum impact toward the improvement of human health and well-being. For starters, my most basic responsibility is to maintain the fiscal health and stability of this institution. That is the bedrock of our ability to do our good work. Now, you may recall that last year I shared that in FY22, fiscal year 22, we balanced our budget for the first time since 2009. That is, we broke even on our discretionary cash flows, and that was a milestone that we achieved 1 year ahead of schedule, as you will see on this slide. Now, what is happening as we face inflation, which reared its ugly head this past year? Well, we again, I'm proud to say, finished FY23 with a balanced budget. And for that, I want to thank our Chief Financial Officer, Julie Jonkis, our Executive Dean for Administration, Lisa Muto, and their extraordinary teams for their exceptional financial stewardship. Now, that said, a few headwinds besides inflation will put pressure on our finances in the years to come, including increased interest rates that are making our capital projects more expensive. But that said, we want to do everything we can to support you and your families, given the escalated cost of living in and around Boston. So, for instance, we've invested in our people with a 9% increase in personnel support, and we've committed to increasing postdoc salaries by more than 20% over 3 years. I wish I could do more, but fortunately, inflation is abating, and I am hoping for a better future for all. Now, from the beginning, I've stated that I am strongly committed to both fiscal responsibility and financial transparency. So I'd like to share how we pay for investments like capital projects, salaries, research expenses. So let's first take a look at our revenue sources. So last year, Harvard Medical School took in approximately $829 million in revenue, and research grants and contracts that directly fund research constitute the largest portion of revenue the school receives and that you earn. But as you will see on an upcoming slide, for every dollar of research revenue that you earn by securing grants, the school actually supplements with additional funds to enable our community to be even more productive in research. And that's why the endowment and the philanthropy we receive is so essential to our overall vitality as an institution. Now, last year, these sources contributed some $259 million to our overall revenues, and that's a full 31%. Now, it's important to understand that our endowment is not a discretionary piggy bank. It's not an ATM that we can withdraw from for every need. Rather, I want you to think of it more like a perpetual foundation that supports our good work, not a spend down or a time-limited foundation that will ultimately cease to exist. Foundations like the Gates, the Rockefeller, the Carnegie, for example, they aim to support great work in perpetuity and to enable foundations to persist well into the future, and likewise, for Harvard Medical School to be sustained well into the future by its endowment. Such a perpetual foundation will typically spend only the interest that accrues on the endowment. Now, if HMS were to deviate from that discipline, if we were to spend principal rather than the accrued interest, our endowment shrinks. The next year's and all future years' distribution of funds from the endowment shrinks, and that would force us to shrink our support of the many activities that keep HMS vibrant and at the forefront of research, education, and clinical service. This means, and this rationalizes, why we have to adhere to sound and tight budget principles. Now, to illustrate how endowment proceeds allow us to amplify each aspect of our mission, let's just take a look at the next slide. So you'll see that research, again, accounts for the largest proportion of our budget here, broken down by the various aspects of our mission. And yet grants support only 62% of our research enterprise. The remainder is enabled by significant subsidies from the school. And last year, the school, pardon me, I've gotten ahead of myself. Is someone else changing the slides, or am I changing the slides? I'd like to be able to change the slides. Thank you, sorry. So last year, the school invested approximately $195 million to bolster the research enterprise of Harvard Medical School. So think of it this way. School support enables Harvard Medical School and all of you to do 38% more research. And that keeps us at the cutting edge. So this involves outlays for cores, startup funds for new recruits, discretionary funding support for faculty, and more. Now that is the power of the endowment and the powerful impact of the philanthropic donations we receive. Now the same is true for our teaching mission, our educational programs, our pathways, our HST curricula, our master's, our PhD programs, our external education programs. They are not fully supported by tuition alone. Our certificate programs, our corporate learning, our master's programs, they do aid in generating some margin. But the school subsidy of $47 million, or 28%, is key. It's a substantial asset that other schools simply can't afford. Now, moreover, Harvard Medical School has the largest faculty of any medical school in the country, requiring significant administrative and IT infrastructure. Consequently, last year, we invested $46 million of school funds to sustain critical services to the quadrangle and to the affiliates. So last year in total, the school contributed $288 million to energize our research, education, and support for the community, constituting roughly 36% of our overall budget. That extra boost of resources, that is the privilege of being part of the Harvard community and having our endowment. Now, in addition to the endowment, we raise gifts, philanthropic dollars for current use, and that's to keep our hungry and thirsty scientists well-fed and watered, among other things. And fortunately, thanks to the stalwart dedication and the talent of our colleagues in the Office of Alumni Affairs and Development, led by Lisa Boudreau, FY23 was our most successful fundraising year in the history of Harvard Medical School. Each of the last 5 years, we've bested the prior 8 years, even though those years encompassed the last capital campaign, and that is highly commendable. Now, with guidance from Lisa and her team, we've been able to inspire a small pool of highly generous benefactors, most notably Len Blavatnik. And these benefactors have collectively given $269 million of the more than $321 million that was raised last year. These benefactors are fiercely devoted to the Harvard Medical School mission and to making a tangible difference in human health by investing in our community. Our long-standing relationship with Ernesto Bertorelli, for instance, prompted the Bertorelli Family Foundation to give $75 million to fund a major reconstruction of Building C. And that is jump-starting our plans to create the West Common Skylit Atrium, a space that will initiate a new era of convening and collaboration on our campus. And in recognition of this generous commitment, Building C, the last building to be named for a vitamin, will be renamed the Bertorelli Building. Paying for vitamins is costly. Now, also, I want to point out that in the aftermath of Paul Farmer's untimely death, supporters of Paul have contributed $40 million to bolster the Department of Global Health and Social Medicine and to solidify Paul's vision and legacy under the new leadership of Vikram Patel. Now, while Harvard Medical School has been highly successful in fundraising, it's really important to note that the gifts we receive are rarely completely unrestricted, and more typically are earmarked for particular uses, and that leaves us challenged to raise discretionary funds for our many other priorities. So while I fully appreciate some of you may ask, why are we renovating a building or supporting specific fields of research when your needs feel more pressing? Please understand that while we attempt to solicit unrestricted philanthropy to support our greatest needs and your greatest needs, there is sometimes a disconnect between those needs and the vision and interests of our benefactors. Now, the university remains our stalwart partner in fundraising. With new leadership, this is an exciting time of agenda setting. I think we are most fortunate that President Claudine Gay is hugely enthusiastic about our mission and our priorities. From what I've seen of her agenda, the life sciences are front and center, and I am delighted to have her ardent support. Now, I know that each of you is working hard to advance science, education, or clinical care here at Harvard Medical School. Now, in sharing the state of our school finances with you today, I want to underscore that our earnest effort to steward our finances is so that we can support and enable your extraordinary aspirations. Now, I wish we had unlimited resources to further propel your work. But please know that every one of us in the administration is striving to keep HMS financially strong so that every one of you can be more productive. So let me just describe some specific ways that we're supporting research and faculty development. First, as part of the aforementioned school resources that subsidize our research enterprise, we are increasing investments in core facilities which serve multiple laboratories and raise the productivity of every scientist in our community. The Foundry Award program provides funding and resources for core facilities and technology development, and just today it announced its 2023 award recipients. Now, one recipient is lecturer in biological chemistry and molecular pharmacology, Kelly Arnett, whose Foundry Award, in collaboration with Professor Andrew Cruz, is making nanobody services available to our research community through her core, the Center for Macromolecular Interactions. Other Foundry Awards will support, for instance, new instruments in the 3 HMS light microscopy core facilities and the biopolymers facility next generation sequencing core. We'll also be supporting a technology project in Marco Jost's lab to develop methods for ultra-high throughput RNA sequencing. So over the past 6 years, we've invested over $65 million additional dollars into our course. We've raised our annual support from the $3 million range to somewhere in the $10 to $12 million range per year, which represents roughly a 4-fold annual increase. That is not enough. It's an improvement, but we are committed to doing more. The department chairs and I see cores as a priority, and we are working together to find more ways to augment this critical support. Now, second, we're prioritizing HMS-managed funding programs that raise philanthropic dollars centrally, but distribute resources across our community. And these include the Bertarelli Rare Cancers Fund, the Ludwig Center at Harvard, Dean's Innovation Awards, and several others. Now, the existence of these support systems has promoted research collaborations on the Quad, as well as alliances between scientists at HMS and our affiliates. These central funds leverage the interests of many philanthropists who want to invest across the HMS community, not just one program, one department, or one affiliate. Third, we seek to support faculty development by further demystifying the promotions process. Our Office for Faculty Affairs reports that the number of successful promotions that office managed is rising every year. Importantly, however, women represented a record 49.5% of promotions in 2022. Things are changing. Another very reassuring trend is the growth in the percentage of Harvard Medical School department chairs who come from backgrounds that are traditionally underrepresented in medicine or medical leadership. We aspire to have our leadership reflect the breadth of our communities. We're not yet as representative as we'd like to be, but trends are positive, with an 8-fold increase in quad and affiliate chairs from underrepresented backgrounds, and reaching the 25% mark for women chairs in particular, an important milestone. And I have to thank Joan Reed for her indefatigable support of this community. A fourth area of support for our faculty is our translational infrastructure. Our therapeutics initiative, which aims to accelerate the pace at which our fundamental curiosity-driven science affects individual health and well-being, well, this has seen a dramatic return on our initial investments. To date, 48%, that's nearly half for the quantitative among you, nearly half of our quad faculty have received funding through QFaster, which is the Quadrangle Fund for Advancing and Seeding Translational Research. QFaster has touched every basic science department on the Quad. Now, roughly $11.5 million has been invested in these projects, and they've yielded over $160 million in follow-on funding. Moreover, 80% of the recently announced QFaster developmental grants support collaborative projects with co-PIs from Brigham and Women's, MGH, Mississippi State University, and Harvard. Our Blavatnik Therapeutic Challenge Awards, available to both quad-based researchers and affiliate faculty, accelerate the development of therapeutics within HMS and its affiliated hospitals, ushering translational projects towards greater clinical and commercial impact. 5 outstanding new projects have just been announced today, driving increased momentum toward a suite of HMS-originated treatments with life-enhancing and maybe even life-saving potential. Now, in addition, 7 companies, 4 of them founded by quad faculty, are now up and running in the Blavatnik Harvard Life Lab in Longwood, an incubator laboratory space that had its grand opening last fall and has already reached 57% occupancy. The most recent venture, Limax Biosciences, joined the Life Lab just 1 month ago, and we anticipate new arrivals soon. Indeed, the Life Lab model is so promising that HMS recently hosted a delegation from Taiwan that is interested in emulating it back home. Executive Director of Therapeutics Translation, Mark Namchuk, and his team have completed the first round of staffing of our new Drug Discovery Sciences Core, which will work in concert with HMS senior therapeutic scientists to identify and usher basic science insights towards therapeutics impact. Now, in the last 3 years, the Drug Discovery Core and our senior therapeutic scientists have together supported nearly 1/3 of projects funded by the Therapeutics Initiative, either through QFaster, the Blavatnik Challenge Awards, or the Translator. And indeed, this past year has been all about integrating therapeutics discovery into our community. Our objective is to equip exceptional laboratory investigators with the tools and the resources to conduct basic science and translational science in parallel, increasing the potential that the impact of our fundamental discoveries can be extended into the clinic. One standout success story of our therapeutics initiative is our $30 million AbbVie collaborative. Now, this is a consortium of 18 investigators from 7 different institutions here at Harvard across 5 focus areas. This is a multi-pronged effort that is linking HMS and AbbVie scientists to advance our fundamental knowledge of infectious disease while simultaneously developing novel antiviral therapies. It was organized urgently in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, and this AbbVie collaborative has now matured into a terrific example of how we can leverage academic and industrial expertise to bring new insights to bear on disease while also developing new treatments. Now, in addition to being enormously invigorating scientifically, the collaboration to date has advanced a compound into clinical development with other projects approaching IND-enabling studies. It's a success. Now, to our teachers and learners, to achieve optimal learning conditions and top-notch clinical experiences, we need to think strategically about the current state of medical education. We have new leadership to guide us as we double down on this promise. After an intensive national search, I named Professor of Neurology Bernard Chang as our new Dean for Medical Education, a role he assumed on July 31st. Now, Bernard's vision for medical education is timely and comprehensive. He believes, and I agree with him, that HMS students should strive to transcend the traditional milestones and competencies associated with a standard medical school education. He maintains that students should be inspired to stretch beyond their comfort zones, to be challenged and held to the highest academic standards, and that by the time they graduate, they should have a well-defined mental map of the many routes towards healthcare leadership. So I'm inspired by Dean Chang's call for a deepened spirit of inquiry, discovery, and scholarship in our efforts to nurture the next generation of physicians. Now, to remain at the cutting edge of medical education, we must envision the physician of the future practicing in an environment rich with cognitive support resources powered by artificial intelligence tools. So we're asking big questions. How do we train our medical students to thrive in the context of this new era of biomedicine? How can we prepare them to be leaders in harnessing the myriad new realities of science and technology to make medicine more effective, economical, and equitable? Harvard Medical School needs to respond proactively and systematically to the advent of advanced AI, especially generative AI. These technologies are evolving at supersonic speed, and so instead of merely responding to the shock waves, we have to pilot this supersonic aircraft. Here at Harvard Medical School, a hub of restless creativity and intellectual tenacity, we have an opportunity, we have an imperative to use our extraordinary resources to capture the wide lens view of humanity's needs and to meet these needs by defining how AI will be integrated into medical education, research, and clinical practice most productively and ethically. HMS is not just a school. It is a beacon of the highest standards and ideals of medicine. Let us think fearlessly and act boldly in the face of new ideas and these new challenges so that we can lead in a transformative new era. So what's our first step? Well, we will start by making comprehensive and thoughtful adjustments to our curricular offerings in medical education, graduate education, and external education so that our students and learners are equipped to use AI models wisely, and I say again, ethically. These adjustments will place a high premium on the curation and verification of AI-generated information. That is, students will become proficient in employing AI algorithms with an eye toward optimizing their ability to enhance diagnosis and treatment strategies while maintaining vigilance to curate and corroborate the information. In the realm of research, we're already beginning to inject computational proficiencies across our campus, an important prerequisite to the widespread adoption of AI. This year, Research Computing and the Center for Computational Biomedicine have collaborated to provide access to AlphaFold and CoLabFold for predicting protein structures. We're also capitalizing on the strengths of our Department of Biomedical Informatics through the development of a PhD track for AI in medicine. With Department Chair Zach Kahani's recent appointment as the editor-in-chief of the new journal, New England Journal of Medicine AI, Harvard Medical School is poised to become a prominent leader in the AI space. Now, finally, we know that among its many capabilities, AI can uncover buried knowledge. Natural intelligence algorithms can sift through mountains of scientific literature and analyze diverse data modalities, images, sequences, in a way that just humans can't. And they connect and they synthesize ideas that allow us to make new discoveries. A team led by Assistant Professor of Biomedical Informatics, Marinka Zitnik, recently made this point in a fabulous Nature paper titled Scientific Discovery in the Age of Artificial Intelligence. I highly recommend this to all of you. Indeed, our efforts to integrate AI into our research activities will augment the scientific method, extending the human mind and accentuating its original genius. Now, in the realm of care delivery, large language models will be a useful accessory in the clinic, increasing efficiency, freeing up physicians and trainees to focus on areas like strategic management, health technology, and compassionate caregiving. Our students and our faculty need to become well-versed in these clinical opportunities while remaining mindful of potential pitfalls. So let me be clear. Our ultimate goal in using AI will not be to replace scientists, healthcare workers, staff, or educators. Our goal will be to harmonize the use of large language models in medical practice with the critical reasoning skills and compassionate delivery of care that only humans can give. Indeed, both are needed. Both are the future of patient-centered care. Now, to prove this point, allow me a moment with ChatGPT. I asked it to write a humorous but thoughtful conclusion to this section of my speech. Now, ChatGPT, if everyone should be using it, if for no other reason than the entertainment value. But I have to say, humor is still largely lacking. So here's what I came up with. Bear with me. Okay. In closing, while AI promises to be hugely beneficial, we must be mindful that it does have limitations. As one famous AI system once said, "I'm afraid I can't do that, Dave." Yeah. So while we integrate AI into medicine, I told you the humor was somewhat lacking, but we actually have to ensure, this is still ChatGPT speaking, pardon me, we have to ensure that it enhances rather than replaces human care and ingenuity. Still ChatGPT here. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to settle an argument with Siri about what food pairs best with Cabernet Sauvignon. As usual, I'm sure she'll admit I'm right after a few more rounds of debate. Now back to me. Okay. Amazingly, my prompt did not indicate that I actually do use ChatGPT to come up with food and wine pairings. I've used it many times. It's brilliant. So that mention by ChatGPT, it's a little creepy. It's just a little creepy. It's a reminder that this new era of generative interactive AI comes with some concerns about invasion of privacy, so be wary. But importantly, generative AI models represent powerfully enabling systems that can organize human knowledge and synthesize ideas. At Harvard Medical School, we are moving quickly to take advantage of these systems, and we have the university's support in fostering this new era. The new Kempner Institute for the Study of Natural and Artificial Intelligence, a university-wide initiative, will play a cross-pollinating role. And Kanika Rajan, a distinguished computational neuroscientist with an appointment at the Kempner, will soon join the Harvard Medical School Department of Neurobiology this fall. Yes, great recruit. In addition, a comprehensive effort led by Provost Alan Garber and Executive Vice President Meredith Wienick will facilitate communications and coordination across schools and units on generative AI issues that are expected to have university-wide implications. Now, other changes to our curriculum, unrelated to AI, are bringing us up to date with much-needed instruction on key aspects of health equity. Last year, HMS completed the first phase of the Sexual and Gender Minority Health Equity Initiative, started in 2018, to train all Harvard Medical students and faculty clinicians in providing compassionate, expert care for individuals who identify as members of the LGBTQIA+ community. And I am proud to say that Harvard Medical School is a leader in this area. Importantly, we've also introduced an anti-racism subcommittee in our highest level curricular governance committee, the Educational Policy and Curriculum Committee. And the subcommittee is focused on implementing the recommendation of the Program in Medical Education's Anti-Racism Task Force. Now, I want to speak directly to our efforts in diversity, equity, and inclusion, especially in light of the Supreme Court's recent rejection of the admissions policies. Please know this. Harvard Medical School is and always will be firmly committed to its diversity statement and community values. Our Better Together plan, an outgrowth of the Task Force on Diversity and Inclusion that was initiated here at HMS under the direction of Joan Reed long before the SCOTUS decision, articulates our shared responsibility to champion people of all backgrounds and identities, faculty, students, staff, postdocs, trainees alike. It grounds us in the moral imperative to address issues of health disparities equity, and social justice in all aspects of our work, well beyond admissions. We will revise our admissions policies to comply with the Supreme Court directive, but our commitment to the importance of diversity and equity in medicine will never waver. I say again, it's the people of Harvard Medical School who embody our school, define its values, and shape its success. As a group, we have not changed. If anything, we've become more animated in our desire to do well by our goals. Harvard Medical School will always stand for equal opportunity, health equity, and inclusion. And we will never cease in our quest to level the playing field and ensure a workforce of scientists and clinicians that reflects the diversity of the patients we serve. These efforts are imperative, not least because the existence of a diverse workforce yields more positive health outcomes, particularly among patients of color. That is well documented. Until our national cadre of caregivers reflects the full spectrum of our communities, I fear that our society will continue to be unjust and less healthy. We don't have to look far to see evidence of systemic health disparities. It's worth reminding ourselves that Harvard Medical School is located just steps away from Roxbury, one of the most underserved parts of Boston. A report published by the Boston Public Health Commission in May found a near 23-year life expectancy gap between the populations of Roxbury and Back Bay. Unless we address health disparities, people who live within a 2-mile radius of Harvard Medical School will never be afforded access to the fruits of all your labors. This is unacceptable, and it's indeed reprehensible. It's why we at Harvard Medical School continue to investigate the social determinants of health through on-the-ground efforts, including those spearheaded by our Office for Community-Centered Medical Education, housed within our program in medical education and our Center for Primary Care. From the moment they set foot on campus during the first week, Introduction to the Profession course, to the moment they graduate, our students experience HMS as a scientific distillery of theories and practices around equitable healthcare delivery. In the realm of graduate education, our master's programs as well are thriving. This fall, we're welcoming our largest incoming class ever with over 550 students, 35 of them earning Dean scholarships. Our PhD programs remain a strength and a priority as well. In particular, we're always seeking to attract more MD PhD students. And this summer, MD PhD students Ina Meng and Simram Honda led a new MD PhD summer program, the Harvard-MIT Equitable Access to Research Training Program, or HART, which aims to create opportunities for undergraduate students to access physician scientist career paths. HART is an exciting program. I'm delighted to give it our support. Our Office for External Education continues to grow with a wide range of learning opportunities for audiences around the globe, including healthcare professionals, corporate learners, patients, their families. Under David Roberts' visionary leadership, the office is designing and delivering postgraduate professional education programs in countries around the world, Hungary, Poland, and they're expanding Harvard Medical School's reach in Latin America. The team's leading digital transformation in healthcare program was translated into Spanish and Portuguese and delivered to more than 600 executive education learners. And their tailored programs for companies like Boehringer Ingelheim and licensing and customized health information for organizations like Microsoft and Anthem, well, these have increased substantially over the past year. All of these aspects of our educational mission point to Harvard Medical School as an inclusive community for tomorrow's leaders in science and healthcare. Now is the time to start enacting the future we want to see. In such a future, our students receive the highest quality training with the highest quality buttresses in place to support their growth, including enhanced financial aid packages and mental health resources. In parallel, our creative use of space continues to unfold as we embark on capital projects that foster collaboration and nurture our physicians and scientists in training. We've expanded our dry and wet lab footprint. We've identified next steps for campus-wide sustainability and green energy. We've completed our master plan for renovating Countway Library as a center for academic life, community building, and interactive learning. And we've started construction to transform Gordon Hall into a flexible co-working community space. The return on investment for the Gordon Hall project in particular is high. It allows us to create a positive work community on campus for our many administrative units while saving literally millions in annual lease costs, money that then can be funneled right back into advancing our research, education, and service missions. All of these projects are driving towards increased momentum on the HMS campus and the campus of the future. By 2040 or 2050, we anticipate we'll likely need another 500,000 gross square feet of space to accommodate all of our initiatives. To that end, HMS and Harvard Campus Planning have been wonderful partners in envisioning Longwood as a vibrant epicenter for life sciences and health sciences at Harvard. Finally, to all of our clinical care providers, you too embody our school, you define our values, you shape our success, and indeed, you are working to transform the US and global health systems so that well-being and vitality are ascendant for all people, and so that no disease is ever a death sentence. I will argue again and again that Harvard Medical School has the responsibility not just to nurture and support you, our clinical affiliates, but to channel your expertise toward inspiring the next generation of change-making care providers. To follow through on that charge, we must do three things. Now, number one, I think we have to reinstate the primacy of primary care. Number two, we have to position Harvard Medical School at the apex of healthcare leadership and practice transformation in this country. And number three, we have to weave health equity into everything we do. Now let's start with the first goal. I'm convinced that we must magnify the excellent work of our Center for Primary Care to reinstate the primacy of primary care as an appealing and exciting field for future healthcare professionals. The healthcare industry at large needs to assign as much merit and prestige to primary care as we do to subspecialties like cardiology, oncology, dermatology. Statistics show that primary care is responsible for approximately half of all medical visits every year, and yet the US devotes something like 6 cents for every dollar that goes to healthcare. That's half the investment on primary care of other developed countries in the world. COVID-19 exacerbated the primary care crisis, of course, as physicians started to flee the profession. The Association of American Medical Colleges predicts a primary care physician shortage of up to $55,000 within the next decade in the US alone, and I'm really concerned about this trend. It may be that nurse practitioners, physician's assistants, supported by AI, will be empowered to meet some of the enormous needs for primary caregivers in our society. But despite ChatGPT's revolutionary power, it's going to be well-trained physicians who will remain essential to organizing teams of primary care providers. And no chatbot will ever replace the human relationship that patients crave as their first point of contact in the medical system. Now, in addition to reinstating the primacy of primary care, a second goal, which builds on the first, is to position Harvard Medical School at the apex of healthcare leadership and practice transformation in the United States. Our students recognize that the need for good leadership in healthcare has become acute, and they're scrambling to transform practices in response to the growing complexities of our field. To encourage these ambitions, we are, for the first time, encouraging students applying to Harvard Medical School to also indicate their interest in our growing dual degree MD-MBA program with Harvard Business School as part of their initial application. Expressing an early interest in business and management science will help our prospective students plan their time at Harvard Medical School accordingly. Our third goal is to weave health equity into everything we do, from basic science to global health delivery, from the micro to the macro. On the relationship between basic science and health equity, some of you may have heard my remarks at Class Day in June regarding my colleague Stu Orkin. Now, Stu is renowned for his discovery that blocking the BCL11A repressor effectively turns back the clock, restoring fetal hemoglobin expression in adult red blood cells and countering sickling in patients with sickle cell anemia. This revolutionary discovery in basic science has spurred a renaissance of sickle cell research, and we are now on the brink of FDA approval for a CRISPR-based cure for this devastating disease, which affects 100,000 here in the US, most of them African Americans, but as many as 20 million around the world. But we must be vigilant when it comes to such advances. Recall the COVID-19 vaccines. They were a major victory of modern bioscience, but the lack of equitable global vaccine distribution was a major failure of public health. If we're not mindful, sickle cell therapies will have a similar fate, remaining inaccessible in regions like sub-Saharan Africa where millions suffer from the disease. Basic scientists are often the source of such revolutionary technologies, and we can and should be involved in advocacy efforts to make them accessible to people around the globe. Now, I'm on the macro end of the spectrum where research and theory translate into global action. I am happy to say that an external review recently lauded our Department of Global Health and Social Medicine, calling it a jewel of the academic community. The department's newly minted strategic plan, led by Alan Brandt, centers on the core values and aspirations that had become integral to the department under Paul Farmer's leadership. As we move forward, Paul Farmer's life and scholarship will be permanently embedded in everything we do. Earlier this year, Cummings Foundation gave $50 million to establish the Paul Farmer Collaborative of Harvard Medical School and the University of Global Health Equity in Rwanda. The gift will support both institutions equally in continuing Paul's transformative work. We are delighted to have this alliance between HMS and UGHE formalized. We look forward to seeing the many collaborative research projects, workshops, clinical training opportunities that will emerge. I'm also delighted that Vikram Patel, now the Paul Farmer Professor and Chair of Global Health and Social Medicine, has, as of September 1st, assumed the leadership of that department. Not only has Vikram amassed a distinguished portfolio of scholarship in global mental health, he has tremendous intellectual energy and is well known for creating consensus and building effective teams. Vikram is a fitting successor to Paul, and he shares his belief that academic engagement is key to delivering quality and equitable health care to all, and I look forward to working with Vikram. Now, I opened this afternoon by sharing one of your stories, so I want to do the same in closing. As a child, HMS student David Velasquez did not once see a primary care doctor. His parents, immigrants from Nicaragua, lacked access to medical resources, could not afford the associated bills. When his brother's undocumented godmother, whom they called Tia, died of breast cancer at an early age, David's family was on the brink of homelessness. He thought to himself, if only there were doctors here who knew our community and our needs, Tia might still be alive. And at that point, David decided that he needed to become just such a doctor. David was accepted as a medical student at Harvard Medical School, where he started seeing patterns, systemic failures in our country's social safety net. During the medicine rotation of his principal clinical experience, David helped treat a patient with HIV who later returned to the hospital due to homelessness. And this experience, combined with his own family history of housing insecurity, led David to advocate for improved housing navigation services at the Massachusetts General Hospital. It also led him to put a hold on his MD training to pursue a master's degree in public policy and an MBA, putting him on track to become the rarest of graduates who hold degrees from Harvard Medical School, Harvard Business School, and the Harvard Kennedy School. Now in his final year of med school, having worked for a number of organizations, both public and private, David's mission is to use policy and business to drive the US healthcare system toward improved and equitable care for all. He is on the road toward becoming the type of clinician he'd wanted his Tia to have had. It's my mission as dean to make sure all of you, future leaders in science and medicine, have the tools you need to become the physicians and scientists that you want to see in the world. You, the people of HMS, embody the workforce that will improve and save human lives. You define the workforce values, you shape its success. I am deeply proud of the people of Harvard Medical School. I'm proud of award-winning key staff like Bobby Collins, who shares information about our students with the world in our Office of Communications and External Relations. And I'm proud of Meredith Solomon, who manages a responsive and innovative outreach and promotion program for Countway Library. I'm proud of master's student Moses Dixon, who was recently appointed by Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey to the newly formed Governor's Advisory Council on Black Empowerment. And I'm proud of second-year MD student Mary Sadlak, who has balanced completing her coursework with parenting her 2-year-old son, Emmanuel. And I understand she did that while training and running the Boston Marathon. Some people can do it all. Students, faculty, staff, postdocs, trainees, and alumni, I feel a huge responsibility to all of you. Being dean, especially at this point in our history, is an honor and a privilege. It motivates me to get up in the morning, and it keeps me up at night. But my role as dean is an endless source of joy for me, in large part because I have the privilege of working with so many of you, thinkers and doers who have entrusted me to steer us in the direction of improved health and well-being for all. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for your dedication. Thank you for your hard work. And now let's go enjoy a party. Thank you very much. I'll be around the party to answer questions.